The Bronx Arts Ensemble brings a different sound to an area not normally associated with highbrow melody.
Up in the sky, someone is playing a trombone and a guitar.
This nonprofit organization is becoming a mainstay of cultural life in the Bronx. Comprised of a rotating group of musicians, they're involved in many free and low-cost performances around the neighborhoods.
When I first came to New York, Stokowski had started the American Symphony, and I was playing all over the place, but I was never playing in the Bronx. One of the musicians that was playing in the American Symphony was a clarinetist. His name was Arthur Bloom, and Arthur Bloom at that point was in the music department at the State Council. So I asked him, would it be possible to know what's going on in the Bronx? He says, well, realistically, there's nothing going on.
So a mission began to organize the first professional symphony orchestra for the Bronx. Artistic funding for this goal was almost impossible, as an endowment for a budding orchestra faced certain rules. Rule number 1, they needed to have already performed a number of free concerts. Rule number 2, they had to already have an audience in place to watch their performances.
My original goal was to create first professional orchestra, but then they took the arts out of the schools. So it seemed more logical to try to get into the schools to get the children involved in the arts again. And that's really what we became involved in.
The program hit a high note by getting funding from other politicians and interest for a full-blown arts program that would eventually reach 75 public schools in the Bronx. The focus today is to allow kids to explore dance, theater, and of course, music.
And it's a wonderful thing. Kids not only love it, but it's an amazing learning tool. Not just learning music, but the other things you learn by learning music.
They regularly feature their rising young stars, and this concert was no exception. As part of an artist-in-residence program, their students are encouraged to perform and compose for all audiences.
This year's concert theme was it's kind of an East meets West.
Oliver Kaplan showcased a work which debuted for the very first time.
I got to know Oliver while I was at school, and Oliver was commissioned by the Bronx Arts Ensemble to write this piece called Journey to the West, based on a traditional Chinese tale.
Charles was also an artist in residence who went on to study at Harvard and is now home performing.
When I was growing up, I wasn't able to attend many concerts, or there were not many venues in which I could go experience music from different cultures.
You can see there are hundreds of people out to listen to the top quality professional music. We don't have to go to Manhattan to hear it. We can stay in our own home community. Van Cortlandt Park is a beautiful park. And the monies that any of us in government can get to keep the Bronx Arts Ensemble flowing, I'm all for it.
And that's the best part of the story. Their programs reach out to everyone in the Bronx.
All these things add up, and it's really part of this great vitality that's taking place right now. They're a very important part of this picture, and not everybody knows who they are, but I think people in the Bronx ought to know who they are and ought to be very grateful that they are here.